Hello, good evening. Let me share my screen. Well, let us start our session for today. In our last class, we have seen the demo of the combination of the full and differential. And today we try to have a demo for the full and the log backup. So guys, can you hear me? Yep, thank you. So we have tried out with the first two cases, the full and the second case is a full and differential, and now third, it's a full and transaction log. So before I go ahead with today's session, so do you have any issues? Have you tried backing up your database and have you encountered any issues? I got a response from Ishwar and Nagvendra. I'm still waiting for a response from Dinesh, Kaushik, Venkat and Navnita. Did you get chance to back up the databases and get it restored on the other instance? Okay, that's good to hear. Everyone were. Venkat, can you please check at your side about the audio settings because everyone can hear me? Okay, all right. So I was just asking, have you practiced the backups and restore which we have discussed yesterday? Okay, all right. So was it success or do you have any issues, Venkat? That's all right. Okay, so well, we'll try to have a demo for the full and transaction log backups. So in the same routine way, I would take the full backup first. So I would remove this one. Okay, the first step, I would create new database. Let me make this in Notepad. At first step, I will be creating a new database, and then after I will try to take a full backup. So let me create a new database. So I go to new query, then create database, name. I need to give a name for this. Probably I say it's Citibank. I'm just creating a new database called Citibank. So database has been created successfully, and again we will be getting a table inside this because of the students. Sorry, it is because the model database has the students table. So let me delete this one, or else I can directly delete that table from model itself so that the next upcoming databases will not have that table. So I have created a new database called Citibank and it doesn't have any tables or data in it. So the next step, I will be taking a full backup. So in order to take a full backup, either you can go for GUI or T-SQL. So as you are very much familiar of the GUI, because for all the demos yesterday I have taken you through the GUI. So what I think is, let me use a T-SQL code. And it is very simple. The syntax to back up your database is backup. What you are backing up, it's database. So database, provide the name for which database you are backing up, and for where do you want to write your backups. It is on disk. Provide the path. That's it. So please try to make a habit of writing the queries. So D SQL backups. I'm trying to delete all the existing backups here to avoid the confusion. So it's D backups. It's D backups, right? And name the backup file. I name it as citibank underscore full.bak. If you want to compress it, then you can just provide with compression, and you can select this and execute it, and you can see the output. The backup has been successfully completed. And if you look at the output of this backup, you see process 296 pages for database Citibank, and the first file Citibank on file 1. So this is for the MDF file. So in MDF file it got around 296 pages and that were backed up. And the same way for in LDF file there are 6 pages and those 6 pages were backed up. So the backup was happened, sorry. So in total the database has got 302 pages and the backup was finished in a time called 0.3 seconds with a speed of 6.7 MB per second. So I have got a backup file here. You can see this is a full backup. And now what I do is go back to the scenario. As a third step, user created table called students. I'm picking up the same example, students. So a user has created a table inside this Citibank database. So I go to new query on this database and create table students, within parentheses provide the column name followed with the data type. So I use my routine standard table with 2 columns, execute it, and the table is now created. So the third change was happened. After this, you have taken a log backup. The first log backup. So to take a log backup, you can use the same command. Okay. The only change is instead of database, you need to specify as log because we are taking log backup, and the extension should be .trn, and just change the name. I name it as log1 just to make it easy to understand. So I can execute the same query. This is the first log backup and it's done. You can see it processed only 8 pages and it was happened within 0.1 second, and you can go and check the backup and have got the backup file for log. And now going back to the scenario, I have taken a log backup 1, then at 5th step, user inserted 5 rows in students table. So let me go to the users page and I try to insert 5 rows in students table. I give some string and I execute the same statement 5 times. Okay, so I have inserted 5 rows with the same values, so you can check here. So I have got 5 rows in students table with ID 10. Okay, so we have done this change, and then maybe after some time your log backup kicked off, the second log backup. So I need to take second log backup. I can use the same query, so I paste it at bottom and I just change the backup file name. That's it. I can execute the same command again. The second log backup has been successfully completed, and at seventh step, user again inserted 5 more rows in students table. So going back to the user page, so I'm changing the number from 10 to 20. Maybe I give some other string. Okay, so the user is trying to insert another 5 rows in a table, so in total I have got 10 rows in students table now. So going back to the case, as the 8th step, I'll be taking log backup 3 and I rename the file name, and it's done. So we are done with the backups. Now let us try to restore the databases using these backups. What are the backups we have taken here? Using these backups, we try to restore them and we look at the databases, what we gonna see in those databases after the restore. So let me make a restore scenario here. The first restore scenario is the basic one. So what I do is I will restore full backup. Okay. Then the second scenario is I restore full backup plus log backup 1. Then third scenario, restore full backup plus log backup 1 plus log backup 2. And as a fourth scenario, I'll be restoring full backup plus log 1 plus log 2 plus log 3. Unlike in differential, we used to directly jump onto the latest differential, because as per the behavior of the differential backup, it backs up all the changes that were happened since your last full backup. But in case of log backup, it does record the changes that were made after a successful backup. It might be a full or it might be a log itself. So that's the reason we need to restore the log backups in a sequential order if you are looking for an entire restore scenario. So we go with the first restore scenario, that is restore a full backup. So I'm using the same instance. So I select restore database, then select device, and go to browse and add. Browse to the full backup file. Okay, I rename it because there is already Citibank exist on my instance, so I just naming it as Citibank underscore full. Then going to files, I want to change the file names. Or else I just change them to D drive. D data. And for LDF file, D drive data Citibank underscore full underscore log dot LDF. Okay. Then going to options, I will be selecting restore with recovery. It is because as per my first restore scenario, I would like to restore only full backup. I don't have any further log backups to restore on it. So a restore been successfully completed, and you can see a database is created called Citibank underscore full, but this database doesn't contain any tables in it. It is because if we go back to our scenario, the first we have created database, then we took a full backup. So the time when we took a full backup on a database, that database is a blank new database. It doesn't have any data in it. So now what we do is, we just, to make it understand, I change it to recovery. So please do remember this term when you are asked to explain the backup strategy. You have to, sorry, the restore strategy, you have to specify and stress this word, with recovery or with no recovery. So we go on to the next restore scenario. It's full plus log backup 1. So I repeat my steps to perform a full restore. Backups full. It seems there is already a page open. No. I'm browsing the full backup file. I name it as log1. It's a second scenario. And again, I will be pointing this to its D bank data, right? So I directly change it here. Citibank underscore log1 dot MDF. Log1 dot LDF. And going back here, can you tell me what option should I select? As per our second restore scenario, do I need to select restore with recovery or with no recovery? And why? What is the reason why should I select with no recovery? That's right. It is because after this restore, we have a log backup 1 to be restored on top of it. So that is the reason we'll be choosing restore with no recovery. So then you can click on OK. So a full backup has been restored. Now what we do is we have to restore a log backup on top of it. So right click on the database, go to task, then restore, then you see transaction log, select it and select from file, browse to the log backup 1. This is a log backup 1. Select this check mark and then you can go on to options, and now the same options but it was given in a different format. The first is restore with recovery, and the second is restore with no recovery, and the third one is a restore with standby. So the same options but they were given in a different format. So the first one is a restore with recovery. So I have to select restore with recovery. It is because this is my last backup I'm going to restore on this database, and I want this database to be online upon this restore. So before I click OK, I would like to show you one more main important point here. So while you restore log backup, you have an option to do a point in time restore. If you remember, I have explained you at the time of recovery models. If you keep your database in full recovery model or either in bulk log recovery model, you get an option to do a point in time restore. So how it works is, assume that I have taken a full backup at 9 o'clock in the morning, and at 10 o'clock I have taken a log backup. So let me make a note here. Let's say I have taken a full backup at 9 o'clock, and then I have configured log backup to run every hour. So at 10 a.m. first log backup was happen. Now maybe application team come back to you and say, DBA, can you please recover the database to a state possibly at 9:30 a.m. Can you please recover the database, because a user accidentally deleted a table from the database at 9:31. At 9:31 in the morning, a user accidentally deleted a table from the database. And now the application team, they came back to you maybe at 10:15. After around 40 minutes of the incident, they came back to you and said that a user has accidentally deleted a table at 9:30 from the database. So can you please get it back? So how we do is we restore a full backup from 9 a.m. If you restore 10 o'clock log backup 1 as a whole, then once the restore being done, the table doesn't exist because the change was happened in between 9 to 10. So we have to restore this log backup, but we need to restrict it up to 9:30. So what you can do is you can go here and select point in time and then click on browse. Here you can specify the daytime time. I can specify as 9:30 a.m. If I specify this, what happens is, even though I'm restoring the 10 o'clock log backup, what does this 10 a.m. log backup contains? It contains all the changes from 9 a.m. till 10 a.m., right? The 1 hour changes. So what we are trying to do here is we are asking the SQL Server to restore the changes that were available in your log file, but only up to this time. What are the changes happened until 9:30 on the database? Only restore those changes. I don't want the changes that were happened after 9:30. Hope you got my point here. right? So in those cases only we'll go for point in time, and this point in time option you can have only on a database that has got recovery model full and you have log backups. So I don't want this one. So I go to options and I will be selecting the first restore with recovery so that the database will come online. So you can click on OK. The log file has been successfully restored and you can see the database is online now. Now going back to the scenario here, have restored full backup with recovery and log backup, sorry, full backup with no recovery and log backup with recovery. And once I restore this database should contain a table, a blank table. It's because we have created a new database, then full backup, then a user created a students table, then immediately we have taken a log backup. So up to this stage we have restored. So we'll be having a table, a blank table without any data in it. So let me check. So you can see a table exists. Let me check the data in the table and you can see it's a blank. So now let us jump onto the second restore scenario. It's a blank table. So in second restore scenario, I'll be restoring a full backup first with no recovery, then log backup 1 with no recovery, and then log backup 2 with recovery. So let me make a note here. So this should be with no recovery and log backup 1 also with no recovery. It is because I have one more log backup to restore. So always restore the last log backup with recovery so that you can bring your database online. So I perform the full backup restore. I rename it as, it's for second restore scenario, so I name it as log2 and then go on to the files and I change the files to d data citibank underscore log2 dot mdf and the same d data citibank underscore log2 dot ldf and then go on to options, and here I will be choosing restore with no recovery and then go for restore. The full backup has been restored, then I have to restore a log backup 1 on top of it. So having said that, it is mandatory for us to restore the log backups in sequential order. So when I say sequential order, that means we have to restore log backup 1 then log backup 2. You can't restore log backup 2 directly. Okay, SQL Server will throw an error saying that, let me show you. I've just restored a full backup and I have to restore log backup 1, but for now what I do is I try to select the log backup 2 directly and see how SQL reacts. So I've selected log backup 2 and go to options, and maybe you can just leave the database and you can see the SQL has given an error saying that the log in this backup set begins at LSN, a number which is too recent to apply to the database. an earlier log backup that includes a different LSN can be restored. It clearly says that there is an earlier log backup available and you have to restore that first. So I go back and remove this file and add the first log backup. And I go to options. Can you show the LSN sequence in system tables? Probably I need to check on which table it should be. Okay, once this demo done, I will try to show you on the system tables. So again, I will be selecting the leave the database uncommitted so that it's a restore with no recovery. So restore is completed successfully, and now I have to restore the third log backup, and I will be choosing with recovery option this time. Sorry, I mean second log backup. I have restored the first log backup. So I'll be choosing the second log backup now. And go to options, and now I'll be selecting restore with recovery so that the database will come online. And the database is online, and if you go back and check, you should find a table with 5 rows. So do a select and see. So we have got 5 rows in the table. So we have restored up to this level. So the result is table with 5 rows. In the same way, we try to do the third scenario quickly.
Sir,
Yes.
so Ganesh here. Sir, as per scenario, we have already taken the log backup one with recovery at the second step. So again for the third step, so we have to take the log backup with recovery move.
Sorry, Dinesh, I didn't get your question.
So the second point, that restore full backup with no recovery, and
Right.
the log backup which we have taken with recovery.
Right.
So for the third time, we have to take a, if you want to take a backup two with
Mm-hmm.
recovery, then we have to backup one with recovery
See,
again.
the second was a different scenario. We have restored it in a different scenario. This you're talking about this one, right?
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah.
So if we have taken the log backup one with recovery,
Mm-hmm.
then why we are taking again the backup with
No, we are
recovery?
not taking a backup. We are restoring here in this scenario.
Yeah, for second and on the third step talking. I'm talking about for the third step.
Okay. So I have restored a full backup with no recovery. See,
Yes,
whatever I have done for the second case, it is a different database. I have called it as a log one. And when I started this third scenario here, while restoring a full backup, I have restored it with name called Citibank underscore log 2 just to make it understand that I have used a full backup with 2 log files. So I have
yes.
restored a full backup with no recovery. It is because I have got 2 other log backups to restore on it. Then after I have restored a log backup 1 again with no recovery, and as a last the log backup 2 with recovery. So this second case is for a different database and third case is for a different database. They are not interdependent on each.
No, no, no. I got it. The third point, that while we were, restoring the backup with recovery, it was not accepting because earlier we have to restore the log backup one for the third step also.
No,
But what you
that's
are,
not. See, in this case, I've just shown you that I have removed this case. That's it.
okay,
What I try to show is, even though if you try to skip out the
hmm,
first log backup and try to do a second log backup, SQL doesn't allow you. Whether you select restore with recovery or with no recovery, it doesn't matter. I will show you. And in the third scenario,
okay,
you're just saying something like, okay, restore full backup with no
Yes.
recovery, and then directly restore log backup with no recovery. That's what your question?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Okay, I will show you quickly. It doesn't allow you. Okay, I'm doing the third scenario. So I'm selecting the full backup. So I name it as the database as underscore log3, and then go to files and change the path quickly. Sorry. Okay, and then go to options. I select restore with no recovery. Okay, so full backup is done. So as per your question, now what I do is I will directly try to select the log backup 3. Okay, and now you're asking me here to select restore with no recovery, right? This is what your question, Danish? Okay, so still it should give an error, because it doesn't matter whether you are selecting restore with recovery or with no recovery, but the major wrong thing we are doing here is we are trying to restore log backup 3 directly without restoring log 1 and log 2. That's what the error mean here. It's not saying you have to select restore with recovery or with no recovery. It clearly says that you are missing log backups in between.
So every time, sir, if the files, if the log files is more, then we have to do restore the log one, log two simultaneously.
Right. We have to do it in sequential. If your restore scenario is something, maybe the backup scenario is every day you are taking a full backup, and every hour you are taking a log backup. Let's say you are taking a full backup at 9 a.m. and then after every hour you are taking a log backup. So at 10 o'clock you got one log backup, 11 o'clock second log backup, 12 in the afternoon third log backup. So in this case, assume that your database got crashed at 6 in the evening. So then you have to restore full backup from 9 a.m. and then you have to restore all the log backup sequentially from 10 a.m. till 5 or 4 p.m. and with no recovery, and then when you restore the last log backup you'll be selecting restore with recovery. So if you think that okay, I don't want to restore all these log backups, then you can introduce the differential backup. You can use the differential backup, something like you can have full backup at 9 a.m. every day, and you can schedule differential backup to run for every 4 hours. That means maybe at 1 o'clock you have a differential 1, and then after 4 minutes at 5 o'clock you have a differential 1, and in the meantime you also can have a log backups running. So I will give you the restore scenarios. So in that we did full backup at 9 a.m. only, but here why are we doing full backup in each step? We are not doing full backup, we are restoring it. We have taken backup one time. To make you understand and to make you aware of different scenarios, I am trying to restore them multiple times. The first time I have used only one full backup to restore, which is very easy, but I want to show you the combination of the full and log backup, how to restore them. So that is the reason I'm trying to restore again and again. So I have just restored the full backup here, and I'm about to restore log backup 1. So this is not a log backup 1. So I'll be browsing the log backup 1. So I need to remove log backup 3. Okay, still I need to go with no recovery. It's because I have other 2 files to restore on top of it. So you can see it got restored. Then after I need to restore second log backup. And again, this is also with no recovery. So it's done. And now I will be restoring the third log backup. The third log backup. And now I will be choosing restore with recovery because this is my last log backup I'm restoring. And it's successfully done, and you can see the database is online. You can expand the database and go to table and browse it, and we should have 10 rows in this table. So going back to the scenario, so we have restored a full backup. Sorry, with no recovery. Log backup with no recovery, and first log backup with no recovery, and second log backup also with no recovery, and the third log backup with recovery, and the output we got is table with 10 rows. So we have restored full backup, sorry, the full backup, then log backup 1, then log backup 2, then log backup 3. So up to this point we have restored. So we got a table with 10 rows. So any questions with the restore scenario? Okay, there was one question which I haven't answered for Ishwar. He's asking about the LSN sequence. So let me, and one more thing is, whatever the backups we have taken now, and what are the restore tasks we have performed on this instance, everything will be recorded. Everything will be recorded and saved in system tables inside the MSDB database. So if you go to the MSDB database and then tables, you can check the restore history, and you can see the destination database names. So it does record all the information, what are the backups you do on this instance and what are the restores you perform on this instance. Everything will be recorded in MSDB database. It is an interview question. Please do remember the table names at least. The restore history will contain the restores that were happened on this instance, and you do have other table for backups. This is the one. We have got around 3 to 4 tables that stores the backup information. So we need to join those tables to get the perfect information, like what database you backed up, and who backed up the database, and where did you back up the file. So everything you can find it by joining these 3 or 4 tables. So this is the backup file. I just browsed it. So it contains the information of what all the backups I have performed till now on this instance. You can see these are all the backups I have done. No. Ishwar, I need to check that the table that normally I don't think the table hosts that, but there are some undocumented commands that might give you the LSN values of the database on which LSN it's currently running. And other than that, do you have any more questions? So any more questions with the backups, restores? Okay, I see some questions here. We can do all at a time. I mean full backup and all log backups. Yeah, you can write some custom scripts where you can restore all the log backups at one time with no recovery and the final log backup with recovery. And what will happen if we forget to uncheck tail log backup? Probably what happens is it gonna try to take a tail log backup of your source database, and that will keep your source database in restoring mode. For file or file groups, it takes time. We have to create multiple file groups and we need to take primary file group backup and the secondary file group backup. Let me check if I have any database with this. There's one more question. After restoring with point in time, can we restore again that log backup? No. If you select restore with no recovery, then only you are able to restore further backups on it. But once you select restore with recovery, then you are not allowed to restore any further log backups on top of it. You have to start it again from full backup. Now, when you go for point in time, as per my previous scenario, you are asked to restore a log backup to a point called 5:30. So you will be mentioning that 5:30 p.m. and you restore it. You still have that log backups available. What are the log backups at 6 p.m., 7 p.m., 8 p.m. still goes on continuing. But for this scenario where application team complained you that the user has deleted a table at 5:30 and they requested you to recover, so we'll be using a 6 o'clock log backup with point in time, mentioning a time of 5:30. But however, you still have the log backups running every hour. I'm just trying to create a file group and I will add a file and move it to secondary. This file or file group has got many dependents. It's not something like a straightforward. So I'll be taking file level backup. So I'm just trying to take a primary file group backup. Okay, have just selected only primary file group and the backup is done. And in this case, I have not selected this secondary file group. I have just selected the primary file group backup. So in this case, if I have hosted my secondary file, that's NDF, on a different drive, that file data was not backed up. So using file or file group, you can take either primary file group backup or secondary file group backup. And again, it is a very rare case you have to do this type of backups. It's very rare. So any more questions before I close the call? Okay guys, thank you very much, and I'm closing the call now. And as I said, as I'll be telling every day, please try to do practice. Unless you do practice, you will not going to gain anything from this. Yeah, Dinesh, I will upload the recorded video. Okay guys, thank you very much and have a good day.